Hello, I am Michael Alfieri. I am an interviewer with the Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County. Today I am interviewing Bill Reed on August the 31st, 2006 at the Anderson Library. Our camera operator today is Joe Graser. Mr. Reed, I just wanted to start off by saying that it is an absolute pleasure to have you here today, and I thank you for being here and taking the time to share your story with not only me, but future generations to come. And, you know, we look back on it, and the personal histories of World War II veterans are not very well documented, and this project is an aim at getting those individual stories preserved forever. And we just want to thank you not only for your service, but also as being willing to come in here to the library and share your story with us.
It's an honor that you give me to let me do this for future generation, right?
You're welcome, and we thank you. Well, let's just start off by, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you come from?
Well, I was born in West Liberty, Kentucky, March 18th, 1919. My father eventually moved. We got out of those Appalachians and we moved down to Mount Sterling, Kentucky. My father was very successful in business. He had businesses all over that area. But he got leukemia at a very early age, 42, and passed away quickly. Thank God he left my mother, who had 5 little kids, including me. I was 8. And he left my mother pretty well off. Then the Depression hit, all through the 30s. That was rough. And I graduated from Clark County High School in 1938. I was 18. I went to work in Lexington, Kentucky for my uncle in a wholesale grocery company. And I was working there when the drafts came along. And I said, I don't want no part of that draft. I signed up, I had to. But I went to the Army, I went to the Navy, they wouldn't take me, I had bad eyes. I went to the Air Force, same thing. I went to the Marines, same thing. The Army would take anybody. But they told me that if I would enlist instead of waiting to get drafted, due to my eyesight, that I would never go overseas, I'd never be in a combat outfit. I would do a desk job, limited service, they said. And I went ahead and signed up for 3 years. That being what it was, for 2 years, the Army kept their word. I was, because I could type, bookkeep, I had a commercial thing in high school. You would have thought I was a professor, because the old Army, the guys didn't even have an 8th grade education. So they immediately put me on special duty, no basic training, no reveille stand, what is it, at dusk?
Reveille?
Oh, reveille is the morning.
Taps?
Reveille. Taps.
Okay.
At 5 o'clock to stand. Excused from all duty. And they put me right in post headquarters in the, what they call the S2 section. And I have to make myself clear. S1 is executive. That's the colonel, commanding officer, maybe. And his adjutant and personnel comes under S1, so forth. And S2 is intelligence and public relations. That's what I got in. Why, I don't know. I guess it's because I was the editor of a high school yearbook. And I suppose I did a couple of things locally for the local newspaper. All that was on my papers that I had, that they filled out. And I guess because of that high school background is why I landed there. And I made corporal before I could even draw the pay. The pay at that time, listen to this, $21 a month for a buck private. And you had to serve 3 months. Even if they made you the higher you go, you could only draw $21 a month for 3 months. That was about what I was getting a week, even though it was a depression.
Sure.
But I was getting my clothes furnished, all my clothing, plenty to eat, sleeping between white sheets. So, in other words, I learned, or I told myself, this is where discipline comes in, buddy. Regimentation and discipline. That was my thoughts, that was my goal. If I listened and did what I was told, I'd get promoted. If I didn't, I'd wind up the guardhouse probably. So, would that be my goal? Okay. 2 years I served in S2. S3 is operations, S4 is supply. So after 2 years in S2, I said, I'm not learning anything really in here, unless I want to stay in intelligence or whatever. I want to go somewhere where I got some experience, accountability. And I said, that would be the Quartermaster Corps. So I asked for a transfer to the Quartermaster Corps. And I got it in grade. I was over there as a corporal. And at that time, I couldn't pick a better time. They put me in the property accountability section of the Quartermaster Corps. By property accountability, I mean if they issued me a whole uniform and everything, that was my own personal stuff. I didn't have to account for that. And if something wore out, I'd turn in for salvage to get it done fair. But something like those chairs there, this desk, anything tangible that you could touch or see, you have to account for.
Okay.
Now things like soap, cleaning supplies, toilet paper, paper towels, that stuff you didn't have to account for. That was intangible stuff. So they put me also in the memorandum receipt section of the property section. And memorandum receipt means everything in that Quartermaster Corps, they were charged for everything. Oh, they transferred me from Fort Thomas, Kentucky, as far as originally went, then to Camp Atterbury and to a buck sergeant. So I went there to Camp Atterbury, which was a new camp just opening. The 83rd Infantry Division was going to train there. So we, in the Quartermaster, was going to supply them. You can imagine a whole division. Everything, all their beds, mattresses, sheets, pillowcases, knives, forks, spoons, in the mess hall. I had to count. I had to put down a memorandum receipt to each company, brigade, regiment, whatever, and they had to sign for it.
Tremendous amount of work.
That was a heck of a responsibility. Well, right quick, they made me a staff sergeant. Remember what I said at the very outset? Discipline, regimentation. That's all it is.
Sure.
So I served on that job till about the middle of 1943, I guess it was. And one day they came to me and said, "You are going to be part, Sergeant Reed, of a cadre that's going to Camp Robinson, Arkansas, for reassignment." I said, "What do you mean, Camp Arkansas? What do you mean, reassignment?" They told me that I am limited service because I can't see. "What do you mean, I'm reassignment?" I said, "I was turned down for officers candidate school because of my eyesight. I was turned down to be a war officer because of my eyesight. Now you're telling me I'm going to Camp Robinson for reassignment?" "You are going to Camp Robinson, Sergeant." "Yes, sir." I said to myself, when I get to Camp Robinson, I'll fix this Army. Anyway, I went to Camp Robinson there very short time, and I was assigned to the 249th Engineer Combat Battalion.
And they had told you weren't going to see combat.
Limited service.
Sure.
So I was assigned to 249. I went there as a staff sergeant. When I got there, the assistant battalion supply sergeant was a tech sergeant like this. So I was a staff sergeant, and that vacancy was a new company, the vacancy existed. So I was assistant battalion supply sergeant for this combat in 249 combat. But all through basic training, I helped give basic training to the recruits. Had to crawl on your stomach and on your back through a live fire coming right at you, live. They send you through one time mock. Blanks they would shoot. Second time you go through, they would say, "This is for real. Don't raise your head up." So you crawl on your stomach or on your back with a rifle. And I was kind of scared the first time, naturally. But I went through that, what do they call it? The firing range, I guess. I went through that thing so many times, helping give basic. I got through. It was nothing. It was nothing. I got used to it.
Sure.
But anyway, after that, 249th Engineer went to the Louisiana maneuvers, and you heard of what Louisiana maneuvers were. It was down around New Orleans and Mardi Gras and all that stuff. We got down there just about the time of that. So I managed to get hit, shot, killed. I was out of flour. If that hit you, white, you was dead.
Okay.
So I wanted to be dead. So I hung around, and I said, "They'll never miss me. I'll get somebody else. We'll slip out of this place. We'll go into New Orleans and see the Mardi Gras. If I do, then I'm taking a chance." And that was not discipline. So being another guy, I talked into it. "Let's go to New Orleans. We're dead. We're out of this thing." We went into the Mardi Gras 2 or 3 days, came back, we were never missed.
So I suppose you have to have a little fun here and there.
Well, yeah, you do, and you're human. You look for ways out. Sure. This and that and the other. So we were told then, pretty quick, they stuck their head in the tent. Now, in this tent turned out to be my very best friend and buddy. He was a buck sergeant, like I was. No, staff sergeant. We were talking. His name was Joe Graser from New Richmond, Ohio. Can I say this? A hell of a good guy, a hell of a soldier. I found out later. So we were both staffs, and they told us, "You two guys, pack your barracks bag right quick." I turned around, I looked at Joe, I said, where the hell are we going? He says, "You're going to Camp Swift, Texas, as part of the cadre to form a new engineer battalion. That would be the 1252nd Engineer Combat Battalion. Joe, you will be the battalion water supervisor, and you will jump from a staff sergeant. No, you will jump from a buck sergeant to a tech sergeant." By the way, this is Joe's jacket.
Okay.
Mine is too little, and I keep buttoning this one up.
Sure.
This is Joe's jacket, and I'm proud to wear anything belonging to Joe Graser. He was one hell of a soldier. He went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, to get this water training. To give you this, even though I'm sitting here, you're interviewing me, I have to say something about the best friend I ever had.
Sure.
He came back from Fort Belvoir. He had to train 4 different buck sergeants or water point sergeants. Now, by that, I mean, he would go, he did this overseas actually. In the States, he got nice running water to do this. Overseas, that's where the real thing was. Joe had to go out and look for water, whether it was clear, whether it was muddy with dead horses and bodies of people in it. And he knew how to make any drinking water good. He could purify anything. We never was short of drinking water.
That's completely essential.
And that's a feat. Even though he's passed away now, I'll never forget what a good soldier he was, what a good friend he was. And he just passed away, I think, about 2 years ago. His son, Bill Graser, is doing the camera work for this interview, and Bill knows what I'm talking about. I'm holding back the tears a little bit, but this guy was, in fact, when we were discharged, Joe got married, his wife Ann, and they had 6 kids. Bill Graser, who's doing the camera work today, Mike and Jack. The girls were Terry and doggone, isn't it awful how you lose your Terry? Bill, help me out. I'll do the last 2 girls.
Judy.
Jody and Julie.
Jody, yeah, Jody and Judy. 3 boys and 3 girls. I saw each one of them come into this world. Even this guy that's on the camera, look at him, how big he is now. And as these kids were born, I was in Lexington, I was a traveling salesman on the road. I could always shoot the breeze and talk. So I got a job as a salesman. And anytime I come through Cincinnati, I'd stop at Joe's place and chat with him. And you have another kid, I'd say, Joe, I've got 3 already, a boy and 2 girls, and you've got 3 in 3 years, 4 years. You're gonna have an army here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to make a start, he had 6 kids, I had 3. So much for that. After we got to 1252nd, I got to be the battalion supply sergeant, promoted to tech sergeant. That's what these are right here. Joel got promoted to tech sergeant, too, as a water supervisor. We had in our barracks, we had control of the men in these barracks. Now Joel was an early riser. He was a good old country boy. He didn't mind getting up at 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, I say, oh, that's the middle of the night. So Joe would say, Bill, you like to sleep late. I've missed breakfast sometimes, even to sleep, because you had to stand reveille at 6, and they'd eat breakfast at 8. I'd skip breakfast sometimes to eat. You had to be on duty at 9.
Gotcha.
So Joe said, Bill, I'll take the morning reveille if you will take the afternoon temps, or, you know, whatever it was.
Sure.
So that worked out fine. Joe took reveille, I took the other. But while we were at Camp Swift, Texas, June 6th, 1944, which will ever be in ever good America's mind, they hit the guys from England hit the beaches on Normandy, D-Day. We were at Camp Swift. That happened. We were immediately alerted for overseas duty. So we shipped out from Camp Swift, Texas. This is funny. We went on the HMT Tamaroa, a British ship. In peacetime, this ship was used to ship cattle to and from England and the United States. What they did, they rounded out the hull and put swinging bunks in there, and the men went down in that place, as that's where they lived.
Okay.
We were about 10 days getting overseas. Joe and I were tech sergeants though. We got to sleep up on top. Private room. We'd go down to see our men every now and then, and they'd razz us. Hey, guys, what did I tell you about discipline? And Joe and I are up there on the top deck in a nice room. While you guys are down here in this hull, now if a torpedo should hit, you guys had it. Joe and I got a chance, we're up on top. We just made a thing of it.
Sure.
You gotta have a little mirth.
Absolutely.
You know. So we were in a huge convoy, naturally, to destination England. About halfway over, we got the signals that had horns and everything, that some Nazi U-boats, submarines, were sighted trying to get inside or around the convoy to sink some of the ships. Boy, that really put everybody out on the edge. We went, I would say, in a circle, that whole huge convoy. I think they said there was 1,200 ships in that thing. Of course, we were protected on the outside by the Navy, destroyers and stuff like that. But anyway, those Nazi U-boats were terrible. To this day, a lot of people don't know that Nazi submarines or U-boats were sighted in New York Harbor on the East Coast. On the West Coast, Japanese submarines were sighted. God must have been with this country. We'd gone through a heck of a depression. All the boys knew this too. If the Japanese and the Germans had got their heads together, if the Japanese had closed in from the west, Germans closed in from the east, like a pincher, we don't know why they didn't do that. You and many people your age will probably read about this or have read about this. And the only thing I could figure is the Japanese thought when they hit us at Pearl Harbor that America was dead. We'd had it.
Thinking they had taken us out.
That's right. Hitler thought when he hit England and practically bombed England to the ground that the British had it. So they just would take their time moving in the United States. That's where they were dead wrong, thank God. We had the greatest president that ever lived, in my anyway, Franklin D. Roosevelt. During the Depression, he started several things, WPA and that was the Works Progress Authority to bring people to work, and the CCC camps. They were immediately turned into soldiers, but he did so many things. And when war broke out, he went in front of Congress and made a terrific speech that we are now at war with Japan, and Germany will probably join it later. Well, as it turned out to be, it was Germany, Japan, and Italy, the big three. Anyway, but after we landed, if I'm not mistaken, so long ago, but I believe we landed at Liverpool, England. I feel pretty sure that's where it was. Our unit, the 1252nd Engineers, we were transported then south to continue our training. We knew we'd be shipped on shortly. We knew where we were going to wind up. We knew we were going to be part of that European thing.
The European front.
Yep. So we were very fortunate. Where we went was to a place called Camp Ship A in England. In peacetime, Torquay, England, was the vacation place for the rich and famous.
Okay.
Oh, a beautiful place. But even though these army barracks were located pretty close, we had the advantage of after duty at 5 o'clock. We were going into Torquay, hit beer joints. By the way, the English served hot beer at that time. Beer. It was served hot instead of cold. Not knowing the exchange value, nothing against the English people, since this is going to be recorded. But they could tell a recruit from a guy experienced. You'd go in and order a beer or something and lay down a dollar bill, you might get back 20 cents, 40 cents.
Mhm.
What I'm trying to say is some of those innkeepers, some of those bartenders, pocketed a lot of money they had to at our expense.
Gotcha.
But the British turned out to be good people for us
Sure.
in the war. So we trained at Camp Chappé. Then about December the 16th, we heard in England that Hitler had ordered that, as a last resort, more or less, the Germans were just about to take Russia, but they were stopped at Stalingrad and another up in Leningrad, and the big of Stalingrad, and Russia was slowly pushing the Germans back. Okay. Eisenhower picked June 6th, 1944, to hit the Normandy beaches. Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of England, Franklin Roosevelt, our president, and Stalin, the Russia Prime Minister, had this meeting, the big three, and it was decided at that meeting, I know, that if and when we won the war, Russia was given the opportunity or the big deal of taking Berlin. Now, I was in General George Patton's Third Army. We were in George Patton's. It's A. That's a shoulder pads from the Third Army. When George Patton heard about this meeting, he said, I could have been in Berlin 4 months ago, but they stopped me because they had been a promise of Russia. The Third Army would have been there 4 months ago, but they stopped me, they cut off the supply of gasoline to my tanks. He was really a tank general.
Sure.
And did that really George Patton said, why do we have to give the Russians? It's the best fighters that should take Berlin, or whatever. So they steered us south, more or less. When VE Day finally came, after victory in Europe, the Third Army was sent south, and the 1252nd Engineers, my unit, part of the Third Army. We were in Czechoslovakia. We had already taken Pilsen and was headed for Prague when the war ended. Prague, Czechoslovakia surrendered, and one of the top Nazi, I can't remember the general, top Nazi generals, mean, terrified and murderous, really, the Czechs. We got him. And then my unit was then sent down into Austria. Same thing, to relieve Austria of the Nazi terror. That being what it was, the war was essentially over. But before I tell one of my stories during the war, I was just bringing up today, you asked about me.
Let's talk a little bit about your experiences, maybe some of the battles that you were
Okay.
in your personal, what you were feeling, what you were experiencing, and your memories from those particular battles.
Okay.
I see that you have a Veterans of the Battle of the Bulge
Yeah.
hat on today.
Yeah, that is an organization by itself. You had to be in the Battle of the Bulge to belong to this organization. At the during the Battle of the Bulge, I had many experiences. One of them, I'll never forget, Colonel Costadet, our commander, we were ordered to blow up a bridge during the Battle of the Bulge. Colonel came to me, since I was battalion supply sergeant, said, on this particular assignment, I want you, Sergeant Reed, to go and take him away if you want to. I want you to take that 3/4 ton truck that I had my own truck assigned to me, and go to Liège, Belgium. Belgium was where the Battle of the Bulge was. You know why the Bulge happened, don't you? Hitler thought if he could break through our lines and kind of like that, and break into Antwerp,
Sure.
there would be a German submarine waiting for Hitler and all his top dogs, Himmler and Goering and all those Nazi killers. That was Hitler's.
Told him to make an escape.
Huh?
Told him to make an escape.
Yeah, that was to be his, he knew it.
Mhm.
He was whipped, but he was going to get out of there. That's why the Bulge happened. And they almost did it. Two of Germany's top generals, Sepp Dietrich and Manfred von Teufel. Was his best tank commanders. Each of them had a division. Now, where we used tanks, they called them panzers. So those two panzer divisions were spearheading this drive. And I mean, they were armed with 88s on those tanks. They had a better tank than we did, and they had an 88 was a longer cannon than ours. Sherman tanks. So when those two guys started up through the Ardennes forest on this deal, I mean, they moved fast. Hitler give them so many days, like 5 days. You got to be an Antwerp, or I'll kill you, have you, whatever. So that was his two toughest commanders. Then, as I understood it, he would take about 25 divisions, follow those two, and he would surely get to that Bulge that he was planned to make. He didn't make it, we stopped him. My outfit, 1252nd, we were at Bastogne and St. Vith, which will go down in history. Malmedy, Clairvaux, I can name a lot of places. But there was a big thing happened at Malmedy, and it was bad, but it really spurred us on, made us mad. The Germans had about 30 American prisoners in a truck. They made them get out in a snow, in a circle, and the guys thought it was a rest. Instead, they were mowed down with machine gun fire. Murdered. That was murder. They had no weapons. When we heard this all down through the ranks, boy, did that instill the fight in us. That was murder. That was the best thing that could have happened. Because that instilled us to really get these guys.
To push on and move on.
That's right. At this time, the 102nd Airborne Division was encircled at Bastogne. The German commander sent a note to our commander of the 102nd Airborne, General McAuliffe. In so many words, the German commander told McAuliffe that if he didn't surrender right now, the 102nd was going to be destroyed. So they were waiting for his reply. General McAuliffe sent back his reply to the German commander, nuts. And when the German commander got these, he said, well, was ist this? Was ist los? Was ist nuts? Nuts? Was ist this? He didn't know. He soon found out. In the meantime, while all this was going on, Eisenhower called a meeting of his top army commanders, like General Bernard Montgomery, the British Army, First Army, was way to the north. There was General Simpson, our First Army, I think he was our First Army commander. General Devers, Fourth Army. General Patton, Third Army. Patch, Seventh Army. It was about 5 or 6 generals. And Eisenhower said, we got to do something. The 102nd is in bad trouble. They're going to get destroyed if we don't do something fast. Which one of you guys, I'll just ask for a volunteer. We got to go in there and stop this Ardennes thing. Well, old George Patton, we hated his guts. He was called Old Blood and Guts. It was his guts, but our blood. He jumped. Eisenhower said, you got to get there at least within a week. Patton jumped up and says, Ike, the Third Army will be there in 3 days. Patton said. That came down through the ranks. Oh, God, 3 days. We were way down in Stuttgart. We were going to take Czechoslovakia. But anyway, we were stopped there. We were turned around, the whole Third Army went back north towards the Bulge. Patton got there in 3 days. We went 3 days and nights.
Mm-hmm.
No sleep, no, just dead tired. And when we got there, into that Bulge, that the year with the winter 44, 45 was in history. It has gone down as the coldest winter that Europe had in years. And that's what we went into. Sleet, rain, mud, water. We got frostbite of our feet, hands, face, or whatever. And by the way, I'm getting, right now, I am getting it's not a pension, it's compensation for combat injury.
Okay.
I keep thinking what I'm trying to say, but it was a combat injury caused by the frostbite.
Gotcha.
I'm getting a pretty good amount a month.
Sure.
I should.
Mm-hmm.
I should.
Absolutely.
Right now, we're spending so much money on a rock and here and there. Yeah. mine is nothing compared to it. But anyway, I earned it. Everybody did 1252nd earned it.
Sure.
Wish I could tell this to Joe right now, but Joe is in a far better place than I am. He's with God. I can't really talk. To Joe Graser was so good to me. All his kids, to this day, I think of Joe every now and then. Because we were together during all this stuff. Now, to get back to what you want, one good story.
Okay.
There was a pilot that they called Bed Check Charlie. And he had a, have you heard of him?
Vaguely.
This guy would pick out Allied places right at dusk, and he alone would attack anything that was Allied. So this commander came to me during the Battle of Bulge. He said, Sergeant Reed, I want you to go yourself on this assignment. Don't send one of your private first class or your corporals. This is a top assignment, and Eisenhower himself is looking for us to do this. What do you want me to do, Colonel? Here's a requisition. I want you to take this back to this supply depot at Liège, Belgium. That was right in the Bulge, this Liège. And get this filled and get back quick as you can. We got to get this done by noon tomorrow. We got to blow this bridge, part of this road. That the Germans are coming up. So Joe Graser happened to be in the company area at that time. He had no water points out. Really, he was just waiting for another assignment. So without asking anybody, I said, come on, Joe, go with me. Where are you going, Reed? I'm going up here and get a few firecrackers. Joe says, I don't know where the hell you're going, but I got nothing else to do. Without any permission or anything, Joe got it inside. And after we were going, I wouldn't tell him, where are we going, Reed? I said, we're going to Liège, Belgium. Oh, no, Liège is right in the middle of that mess. That's where I'm going. Okay, let's go. So we got into Liège. And, no, we hadn't got to Liège, on the way. We were on this road, and our lights, just about like that. They had, you couldn't have any bright lights at all. No, after dusk, no smoking, no lights, so they can give your position away.
Sure.
So Joe and I were going down this highway real slow towards the age. We were riding along, and Joe smoked a pipe. And Joe always smoked a pipe. He had this pipe in his mouth. And we were riding along joking about, boy, if we get to Liège, wine, women, song. I said, that sounds good, but we got to get this stuff loaded and get back. So Joe said all of a sudden, he said, Bill, he said, there's an airplane making a loop around here. And he's coming down this highway now, and he's got his machine gun going on that plane. It was a Nazi plane. And I looked, I said, every other bullet was a tracer. That's a fire. If one of those tracers would hit us, and all that stuff we had loaded back.
Mhm.
We were going down at the closer I know he was headed for us, right down that road towards us. About the time he got, I guess that was a half a mile. I said, Joe, jump. He's gonna get us. So Joe jumped out of the truck to the right, into a ditch. I jumped out to the left, let the truck careen on down that road. And that plane, he would have got us. Now, to this day, God had to be with us right then, because when the plane had gone by, Bill, are you okay? You okay, Bill? Yeah, I'm all right. How you, Joe? Oh, I think I got a little bruised knee or something. I said, well, I got a little cut. He said, let's put in for the Purple Heart. I said, Joe, you know better than that. The Purple Heart guys have lost a leg, an arm, or whatever. He was just kidding. I found out later that guys lesser than that don't got a Purple Heart. But anyway, I looked at that truck. It had a canvas awning over the nitrous starch and dynamite, all the explosives to blow that bridge the next day. Right up the very back of that thing, there was bullet holes. So at that plane came in at such an angle, when we jumped out, that plane must have still caught the tarp right at the back.
Battalion.
If he'd been up 8 more feet, he'd have hit all that ammunition. So I said, Joe, let's see if we get that truck going again. We've got to get this ammunition back. Oh, we went down that truck, and I hadn't turned the key off. I didn't have time. The key was still on. I said, the battery's probably run down and out, right? So anyway, that thing I didn't even turn over, it was just set. I turned on the key. What's your name, by the way?
Michael.
Michael? Mike, I turned on that key, and that motor just roared. So Joe and I said, Joe, if the wheels start spinning, you're going to have to push like heck, or do something. And I'll try to drive it out of here. Well, I hit that accelerator. Oh, that old truck caught, the wheels caught, came right up out of that ditch on that road.
Wow.
Joe and I got back to the 1252nd, mission completed. We didn't say a word to anybody about bed check Charlie. We didn't say a word to anybody about how close we came to get killed or blown up, or blah, blah, blah. But if we had reported this happened, we would have probably got the Bronze Star or the Silver Star, but we didn't say anything about it. We just did our job. To make that story, we completed that mission. The next day, being battalion supply sergeant, I distributed all that stuff. See, a combat engineer battalion is composed of 4 companies. Okay. Headquarters did A, B, and C companies, your line companies. That's where they're the fighters. Headquarters, we supplied the line companies. So the next day, I gave the line companies an equal share of all this ammunition. And I heard later, well, in fact, we got a letter from 3rd Army Headquarters. What a job we've done that next day. Our 3 line companies had blown that bridge all to pieces, and more of the road than they were supposed to, stopped them tanks dead in their tracks. You couldn't cross that river without that bridge been there.
Gotcha.
I thought that was a superb
And it wasn't, if
thing.
it wasn't for you getting that explosives and everything there.
But old Joe was a silent member of that. Nobody but me, I guess, ever knew that he went with me.
Gotcha.
Some of the things that I got into also, people don't know this, but towards the end of World War II, we were running short of manpower. They started sending us replacements to the United States, some older guys in their late 30s even, kids at home. And they also sent us convicts out of Leavenworth, as other penitentiaries, with the assumption that if they got through the war, these were guys that probably were in for burglary or not killing,
Sure.
probably anything but killing somebody. So they would let them out as replacements. So I got one of those guys, the 1252nd, and of all places to assign him was to supply. I got him. I never will forget, his name was Collins. Big guy. He was assigned down to supply. I said, Collins, I understand you were in the penitentiary. It don't matter who to be. You just do what I tell you, when I tell you, what I tell you, and we'll get along fine. I'm a battalion supply sergeant. I want you to know it. And if you will get that in your mind, we'll get along fine. Collins replied, the F word and other things. I don't like this damn army. I hate this army. I'd just rather be in the penitentiary. You could go to hell, you and all the officers in this outfit. He says, I says, what's your problem? He says, we took this town by storm, didn't we? Yeah. I said, we took this town, and we are on the first floor. We made this family, in other words, a man made them go upstairs. There was side steps. We made this man and his wife go upstairs. We occupied downstairs for the guys. Well, I was away from that building, up the street, talking to somebody, and one of the boys came screaming up to me, saying, Sergeant, you better come back down to the house that we are staying in. I said, what's the problem? Said, Collins is really on the warpath. I said, what's wrong? Well, you better get down there and see. Okay, I'm sorry, I went back down there. And I said, Collins, what are you up to? You've been a pretty good soldier up to now. What's your problem? He says, upstairs, there's a woman upstairs. And I haven't seen or been with a woman for a long time. I said, you mean you got in your mind that you're going to have that woman sexually, I guess? You damn right I am. That's what I'm going to do. I said, no, you're not. No, you're not. Because you look over to your right at the head of the steps, and you see that woman's husband has got an axe. When you try to get up there, you're in trouble. You can go to hell, Sergeant. This whole army can go to hell. Every officer, you just go to hell. I'm going to have that woman. Collins, I'm telling you last time, no, don't go up those steps. He paid no attention. He went up those steps and got right to the top to try to get to that woman. This woman's husband let him have it with a broadaxe right through his head. He come tumbling down the steps. He was dead. Called an ambulance and he was gone. There's a whole bunch of boys around then. Sergeant, what are you going to do with what are you going to do with Collins? I said, I don't have to do nothing. There he is. He's dead. What are you going to do with that guy after I hit him with that broadaxe? I think that man was a civilian. He's a citizen. He wasn't in the German army. He was only defending his wife, like I would do, or you, or anybody else would do. I'm not going to do a thing with that guy. Collins got what he deserved. That's a rough decision to make.
Sure.
I could say, let's get the guy upstairs and kill him. No, Americans are not that way. I had a wife. Maybe you got a wife. You respect that wife. And anybody tries to harm her, you're going to get her if you can. That's the way I felt about it. That guy was not in the German army at all. He was a civilian defending his wife. I'll do a thing to him.
Gotcha.
They got back to the battalion commander, the colonel. And he came to me personally and said, Sergeant, I commend you on witnessing a gory situation, but you made the right decision about the German man. That's Americans for you.
That's America.
That's Americans for you. Let's see now, if I got any more stories. I made a few notes here. Mike, I can tell you, after the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler was done. I mean, he was through. We had one task yet to do, crossing the Rhine River, but because the Germans were trying to defend that furiously. We got the orders down from Patton that all the armies along the Rhine River, from Holland clear down to Austria, the whole length of the Rhine River, is going to cross all at one time. And that would really surprise the Germans. At 4 o'clock in the morning, we were all the armies were going to cross the Rhine River. That was from Eisenhower. That's so at 4 o'clock. Oh God, I told you I like to sleep. I was out there at 4 o'clock by myself. My boys were behind me, a few of them. But this Lieutenant Brigadier Joe, I think he was, or Colonel, high ranker, came by and said, Sergeant, what is your orders today? Now, I said, I have received no orders, sir. I am here, at your disposal. I wish I knew what I was supposed to do to cross this river. Effective right now, Sergeant, you're going to be in charge of a big task, and do it. I said, I'll do it. There's going to be trucks coming in here right away with salt boats on them, flatbed trucks with salt boats. As fast as those trucks get in, you assign 4 men to a boat and send them down to the river. I said, you mean we're going to try to cross? This was at St. Gorge, Germany. And we were supposed to go across the river to St. Gorhausen on the other side.
Okay.
I said, are you mad, Colonel? We're going to cross. You want me to put men in boats, send them down to that damn river, with paddles across, you get enemy gunfire across, right in the teeth of the gunfire? That's it, Sergeant. That's what you're going to do. So as those boats came down, I signed 4 men to a boat, set them down at rivers. Some of them almost refused. I said, that's an order, you either do that or I'll see that you get court-martialed. What are you gonna do?
Mhm.
What are you gonna do? That's your duty.
It's your job.
So I would look around every now and then. I looked around just in time a couple of times to see a German 88 on the other side hit a assault boat head on. Both men fly in the air. What was a nice, cool, pretty Rhine River. In less than half an hour, it was red with American blood. I dream about that still at night sometimes. Wake up fighting. My wife said I wake up fighting and holler. I guess it'll always be on my mind.
Sure.
But we got across the Rhine River. All the armies did. Germany really quit then. These soldiers was throwing down their rifles. They were through. They knew it. All they wanted was a place to sleep and something to eat. So we moved on into Germany, Central Europe. That's what one of these battles started in. And then we had heard about these concentration camps. And our unit personally came upon about 3 of them, as I remember. One of them was at Orsdorf, Belgium, Dachau. That's 3.
Sure.
Anyway, I have the pictures right here, sir. You have the blown up pictures? That's it. Hold it up to the camera so you can see it, maybe. This is what we saw in these camps. Things like this. And like that one you got right there, guy hanging, that guy right there. Show that to Bill, please. But this one right here. Look how they hang those poor guys. That's Americans. Stack their bodies on a truck like this right here, sir. Yeah, like that. Oh, anybody who doubts these Nazi concentration camps, I was there. You had to be there to. So the stench, smell of those concentration camps was terrible, terrible. And what we did, even the German citizens didn't believe this, some of this. In a couple of these little towns, we lined these civilians, German civilians, up and made them march through one of those camps so they could see for themselves what their Nazi army had done.
That it really did exist.
That's right. Americans are in those camps. Jews, you know, Hitler's idea to start with was to eliminate all the Jews in the whole world.
And make his Aryan nation.
And he was going to be the Aryan race. The Aryan race was going to exist. He got a good start while the war was on. He took the good-looking German, healthy German women, blonde hair, blue eyes, light complexion, and he'd take the officers mostly, who were real healthy. These women, as I understand it, were told to be with these men to produce the typical German, the Aryan German. They was going to rule the world.
Gotcha.
Anyway, we went through all these camps. These pictures I've got. I'll never. You had to be there. I've went to several shows myself. I saw Patton naturally.
Sure.
And I saw the one Private Rhine.
Mm-hmm.
They were good, but you had to be there. Any picture show doesn't give you the stench and the smell of the crap that you have been there. And I was looking for one
It
here.
can never be quite.
Huh?
It can never be quite captured on film.
That's right. And I was looking for one here, and I got one at home. This is Joe's diary and book, by the way. But anyway, the sad thing that got to me and the rest of the guys, chow, we call a meal a chow.
Mhm.
Well, our mess sergeant, after the war was over, he had mess outside, set up the tables, and it was like a cafeteria style. We would go down the line and hold out our mess kit for food. Over here, there's a bunch of little kids, 2, 3, 4, 5, hungry. They were hungry. They'd see us go through the line, getting our mess. And when we get through eating, we would dump what we didn't eat into like a GI, 5-gallon GI can.
Mm-hmm.
That was nothing.
Sure.
Those kids would just stand by there and wait. After we had say a dinner meal, our mess sergeant looked over those kids, and he'd say, Willard West from Wilmington, Delaware, best mess sergeant in the United States Army. He would say to those kids, okay. They would rush towards those 5-gallon cans of stuff we just dumped in there like slop, I guess you'd say. They almost fight each other. They would dip down in there and get something to eat. That would bring tears to you.
Sure. I guess, when you're hungry enough.
Yep, you'd eat
You eat.
anything.
Well, it sounds like to me, it's, very obvious that you saw a lot of action, you saw a lot of this
Personal stuff.
But it also sounds to me like you, in your role as dealing with supplies, did you ever have any chances to trade off?
Oh, yes. Oh my God.
I've got this, you've got that. Yeah, do you have any
Oh, yeah.
stories about that,
Oh,
whether it be
yeah.
with fellow American soldiers or Czechoslovakian soldiers, German soldiers?
Well, we had jackets, not this one. This is called the Eisenhower jacket.
Mhm.
This is issued to everybody. But we just had the coats kind of long down to here. And we were those one of the tank battalions. They had these nice battle jackets, real trim, khaki through here, a warm lining, and a waistband that was, you know what I'm trying to say.
Elastic?
Nice zipper clerk
Okay.
here. I said to Joe Graser, I said, boy, I'd like to have one of those Armored Force jackets. Man, look at those jackets.
Mhm.
Joe said to me, well, hell, Bill, we can do trade, can't we? I said, sure. So we got a bunch of the engineers. We used knives, and we used bayonets on the end of our rifles.
Mhm.
And anything engineer, anything like, wrenching, isn't it?
Sure.
So we went over to this tank company. Hey, we'll trade you some engineer knives and flashlights and Anything else you want, wrenches or whatever, for one of those jackets you guys wear. Well, anyway, to make a long story short on that deal, those guys in our outfit, the 1252nd, wondered how the hell Joe and I got those nice looking combat jackets instead of the damn blouse we wore. That was that I brought mine home. It had a lot of torn places, whatever, but I had that for a long time. And one guy in my hometown offered me like $100 for that jacket at that time. I was just home. It had memories.
Sure.
And it finally got so old and everything, I finally just threw it away. Another thing that got to me, let me look through the notes here just a minute.
Now, once the war was coming to an end, and, you know, I'm sure you're hoping and praying that you can get home
Man. Yes, sir.
before too long.
Yep.
Is there anything about when you were leaving, any stories that you have?
I could think of one. After the combat ended in Germany, the Army came up with a point system based on length of service, how many battles you were in, so forth. They gave you points. If you had 85 points or better, you would not do any more combat, because a lot of the units in Europe were ordered to be alerted to go to Japan and finish that war off.
Okay.
The 1252nd was ordered. I had enough points, so I got out of the 1252nd. Joe didn't have enough points, my buddy. He was going to Japan. This is quite a story, I think. So, on the 1252nd, both boys that didn't have enough points, they got the fillers for us guys that left. And their boat was in the convoy to go to Japan. Needless to say, I guess everybody in the whole world knows, there was a plane, single plane, that flew over Japan. I was trying to remember the name of that plane because it was so famous. Anyway, they flew over Japan, the city of Hiroshima, and they dropped the atom bomb. They wiped that whole city out, even though they were civilians. Look what Japan did to us at Pearl Harbor. We felt like we just got even. Japan still wouldn't give up. We dropped the second atom bomb on Nagasaki, wiped that city out. So, sometime in August, I can't remember the date, in August, Japan surrendered. Everything was over. And my 1252nd engineer, the ship they was on, they just turned around and went to the United States for discharge. Here I am with points to get out in the Army of Occupation. My original unit beat me home.
Wow.
And they kidded me for years after that. We have had a reunion every year since 1949.
That is fantastic.
And Joe Graser, I think, was one of the guys who helped get this thing together. And I've had 6 of those myself, the chairman. We've had some real good reunions. But one more story, if I could think it.
You were saying something about Bing Crosby?
Oh, while in the Army of Occupation, there was Major Clark, who was also in the 1252nd, but he had points. And he came to me one day. He said, "Reed, what are you doing tonight?" You're looking for German girls. What else is there to do? But they had a thing that was no association with any. That was banned. Sure. After all, we were men. Mm-hmm. I was kidding Clark. I said, "Well, what else you do at night except look for German girls?" He said, "No, you don't have nothing to do, dog. You want to drive my Jeep over to Strasbourg to a USO show over there, Jack Benny." And he says, "My first cousin, Martha Tilton's in that show." Now, Mike, do you know who Martha Tilton was?
Unfortunately, I do not.
In the 40s and the late 30s, in the big band, you heard them.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Martha Tilton sang with Tommy Dorsey, Glenn Miller. She sang with 2 or 3 top bands.
Okay.
All right, the band that was with this U.S. show, the Jack Benny show, was, he accompanied all the other shows. Bill, do you know who it was? Huh. Russ Brown and his band of renown. That's who it was. Okay. But Clark, Major Clark, he says, "I got a cousin that's in the band, that's in the show, Martha Tilton. You are first cousin to Martha Tilton?" Hi. You don't believe me? Why, hell no, I don't believe you. I'll go to the show, but you and Martha Tilton, first cousins. That's a good one. So I got the Jeep and all the way over to the show. I kept kidding him about, "I just can't wait to get there so we can see your cousin, Martha Tilton. Mm-hmm. She's a famous person, Clark. Don't you know that?" "Yeah, I know it." So we got there, the MP stopped us. Clark says, "I want to go right up to the entrance to the show, the back entrance." And the MP said, "That's forbidden, sir, unless you know somebody or you got some kind of identification." He said, "My first cousin, Martha Tilton, is on the show." The MP said, "Martha Tilton? You are a kid to her?" Clark said, "We're first cousins." And I kept saying to myself, that's SOB, saying Martha Tilton's his first cousin. So the MP let him walk up to the entrance to the show. And he told the MP there that he wanted to see Martha Tilton. So the MP went inside, and then out came this beautiful blonde-headed girl. They grabbed Clark, he grabbed her, they hugged, he kissed. Her, Martha Tilton said, "So glad to see you. Martha, I'm so glad to see you." I said to myself, that son of a buck was telling the truth all the time. Then he introduced me to Martha Tilton.
Wow.
I've got her picture still in my wallet. I took with her. So, to make a story really good, Martha says, "You and the sergeant there, come on into the show. You can have the top seats. You can sit right in the back light, and you can watch the show from there." On that show was Jack Benny, Martha Tilton, Ingrid Bergman. Have you heard of her?
Sure.
She had the prettiest skin I've ever seen in my life, just like velvet. And there was there was a comic on his show, I can't think of his name right now. Red Skelton.
Let's go.
So anyway, I sat there with Clark, and we saw the show first class. Saw him go out on stage, come back. And I talked with Jack, I talked with all of them. Then after the show was over with, they were staying in one of these castles on the Rhine. They had an elaborate setup over there. So they invited us to go with them over to the castle for dinner. So Clark and I went.
Mhm.
Boy, did we have food out of this world. It wasn't K rations or C rations.
Or the mess that you were used to.
Oh, man. That's right, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
We got milk. Finally got a glass of milk,
Sure.
which we hadn't had since we left the United States. And this band came over there too. After we had a dinner out of this world, this band was going to play a few pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I got to dance with Martha. I got to dance with Ingrid Bergman. And dance, I tell you, she had her skin looked like velvet.
Wow. Beautiful.
You know what I'm thinking, but on this show I can't say it.
Sure.
These two girls was to a guy that had been in combat, been what I'd been through. I was almost like Collins I told you about.
Gotcha.
But not that bad, but no, not like him. But anyway, we went to that show and saw all those dignitaries, and to me that was really something. So we're in an Army of Occupation now. My job in the Army of Occupation was I had a team. I had about 4 buck sergeants. Now buck sergeants is just sergeants,
Mm-hmm.
3 stripers. I had 4 buck sergeants. Each one of those sergeants had so many German prisoners, about 15 or 20. And they were going to clean up their own mess. We weren't going to do it. So I'd take these 4 buck sergeants out in the morning, and I'd say, I'll be right up here. I'd pick a nice shady place and get under that, send these 4 buck sergeants and their teams out there to clean up the mess, these German prisoners. And that was soft.
Gotcha.
Then I got in my head, you can even be gone from this assignment. I said, why don't you go ahead and do what you want to do? And so they bust you to a buck private. You were going home anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to motor pool and got me a Jeep. I wasn't authorized. Oh, I told these 4 buck sergeants, I'll see you at 5 o'clock. I've got another assignment. I went up to the motor pool, got me a Jeep, unauthorized, just got in a Jeep, drove it out.
Mm-hmm.
I drove down to Berchtesgaden. That was Hitler's mountain retreat. And down those mountains, those Alps mountains, Hitler had this mountain home, beautiful mountain retreat. And I drove up to that part. I had a camera with me. I saw the barracks down below of the German soldiers that more or less were guards for Hitler, and his concubine, his what was her name? Yeah, I can't think of it now.
That's fine.
But anyway, Hitler wanted to a little rest and peace. He goes to the Eagle's Nest.
Eagle's Nest.
That's what it was called.
Mhm.
And he would go there with this girl. She was with them, I would say, up through the whole war. Right before he was burned by the Russians in Berlin, he and this girl took poison, and Hitler shot himself. Anyway, I got up to this Eagle's Nest. I got inside. I saw it. I don't know if Joe got a picture. I don't think Joe has, but at home I've got a picture. Inside, the chairs, the sofa,
Mhm.
and everything where they lived. And I wanted so much to get a souvenir from that place.
Good.
If they caught you trying to take anything, you had it. As I was leaving the Eagle's Nest, though, I saw a little box, a little jewelry box with a little dog on it. I looked around, and I was on the way up, grabbed that little box under a jacket. Got that at home right now. If I could just prove that that came from Hitler's mountain retreat to the Eagle's Nest, all these souvenir guys would give me thousands of dollars for that.
Sure.
But I can't prove it.
Yep.
I can't prove it.
Well, it sounds like to me that you've obviously saw some pretty horrific things while you were there, and then, as your most recent stories were saying, got to have a little bit of fun as well with USO shows and all that kind of stuff. And you were starting to talk about coming home. Why don't you tell me a little bit, after you were discharged from the military,
Okay.
and you were home, what'd you do with your life?
Mike, I came home with another unit, not the 1252nd, because, I've been assigned to another unit. I came home with, it was another engineer unit though, but I returned. We landed at, I never will forget, when we sailed out past the Statue of Liberty. I wondered if I'd ever see it again. We passed the Statue of Liberty going in. This ship I was on landed at, it's up in Boston, Camp Mild Standish. We landed and were unloaded at Camp Mild Standish. Came down that plank, got on U.S. soil, kissed it, man, did I kiss a U.S.
Sure.
And as you went down that gangplank, got to the end of it, they hand you a quart of milk. So between kissing the ground and drinking milk, man, was I happy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then they shipped us guys out to the reception center, more or less, closest to your home. The closest induction and reception and center, and also discharge center, was Camp Atterbury, Indiana, which I had helped make back in 1942.
Gotcha.
So I got my honorable discharge at Camp Atterbury. I went back home.
Home being where at this time?
I had no home really,
Okay.
because I married in 1941,
Okay.
and I had a son. And when I got home, he was about almost 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I went home, went to my wife's home in Mount Sterling, Kentucky, where she was with my boy. And the thing was then to look for a job, actually.
Sure.
The thing that really got to me was what my mother-in-law said to me. I just wanted to rest and read the newspapers, sports pages, and just get back to feeling like an American boy. Because I've been battle hard so long.
Sure.
About the second or third day, I was laying on the couch in my mother-in-law's home, and my wife was reading the newspaper. And she says to me, quote, "Bill, don't you know the war is over? When are you going to look for a job?" Did I know the war was over? When am I going to look for a job, Mike? I've just been home 3 days.
Sure.
And did I know was the war over? I almost hated her, but I didn't. But man, that got to me. I went out the very next day, looked for a job. There's a lot of jobs opening up. But I knew as a veteran that my 5 years service would count towards retirement if I took a government job.
Gotcha.
So I went to the Veterans Administration in Lexington, Kentucky, 30 miles from where I was. And they were hiring people like crazy. Well, I had veterans preference.
Sure.
In other words, it was me and another guy, both qualified for the same job. He had no military service. I got the job.
Sure.
So I went to work for the Veterans Administration. Guess what?
What?
Supply. What else?
Absolutely.
I was working for the Veterans Administration in supply. There was also transportation. So I wound up there as a transportation guy. Issued tickets to veterans coming in or veterans going out. Air, automobile, bus, whatever. I did the transportation. Then the personnel officer there, Cliff Strucker, and I got to be pretty close. He came to me one day and he says, "You know the old Fort Thomas?" I said, "Do I know Fort Thomas? That's where I was inducted." He said, "It's going to be turned into a veterans hospital." He says, "How would you like to transfer from Lexington, where we now are, back up to Fort Thomas, Kentucky, to open that place as a hospital? And you will be entirely in charge of supply. Next to supply officer, you'll be in charge." I said, how many jumps? You got a 2-grade jump. And that day, in those days, it was a CAF. I don't know what it is today.
Okay.
So I jumped from a CAF 3 to a CAF 5. I'm going up there.
Gotcha.
As a promotion. So we formed Fort Thomas from an army post to a hospital. I transferred truckload after truckload after truckload of army cots, mattresses, sheets, pillowcases, all that kind of stuff, from Bowman Field, airfield in Louisville, which was being disbanded. It was an army base. It was being disbanded and closed. So I had to ship everything out of Bowman Field to Fort Thomas. Boy, that took about a month to do that. Every day I was on duty from Monday through Friday. I worked overtime. I can personally say that basically the things they had to have, like beds and stuff like that, I can personally say that I personally supplied a Fort Thomas hospital with everything they had, or probably got right today.
Fantastic. So did you stay there all throughout your career with the VA, or?
My wife got pregnant.
Mhm.
How is she going to take care of a new little baby? And the little boy I have is about 4. How is she going to take care of them? With me working all the time. So I told her, why don't we go back? I can get a transfer back to the VA hospital or Lexington Signal Depot. And you, when the baby comes, you'll be there with your mother and dad. I won't have to worry and do with you. So that's what I did. I transferred to the Lexington Signal Depot as a I forgot what they call me, but I was assigned to a new section they had. I forgot what they called us. But what I do, I would drive a VA car, a government car, to, like, say, Columbus, Columbus Air Force Base. I would go in and I would inspect their signal records to see that they were properly supplied, and if they were short something, why were they short? Why? I'd ask the officer in charge.
Sure.
Why don't you have these things? He'd have to tell me something. It was always an excuse. I knew what it was. They were spending too much time in the officers club instead of doing their job. I'd get on them. I'd say, I'm going to report this. And I'd look at what he didn't have, and we'd make up a requisition. I'd stand there and watch him make it, and he'll sign it and send it all into these different depots to get what he didn't have. Now, if he was oversupplied, which most of them were, I would say, you got to get rid of this, you got to get rid of this, you got to get rid of this. Send it back to the depot, you're oversupplied. What are you doing? Are you doing this, have you got something underhanded going on here that you sound like you're oversupply? Send it back. Well, then I'd get back to the Lexington Signal Depot. I would personally write up a report of what I saw at this particular base, and I'd give the report to the officer in charge there. Where the report wound up, I don't know. Probably in Washington, I don't know. And then you go back to them the second time and see if they had done what you told the first time, and they had done it. I visited about 5 bases. Where I went to Columbus, Indianapolis, Fort Knox, Fort Campbell, and Fort, another one in Tennessee, I keep that.
Sure.
But that was my job. I did that for about 2 years. Then a job became open at the U.S. Naval plant. U.S. Naval, they made shells for the Navy. U.S. Naval Ordnance Plant, that's what it was. And I jumped another grade to a 6 and got transferred up there as assistant traffic manager. So I did that. My wife didn't like wool very much. That's tough. You got to go where the money is. Sure. And my service in the Army counted towards a discharge. I mean, towards a retirement.
Sure.
So by this time, I had 5 years Army, 4 years civilian. That was 9 years toward retirement. Then by going up to the U.S. Naval Ordnance Plant, that was still government.
Mhm.
So I stayed there, and as usual, Eisenhower was determined to get the payroll down of the government. So in due course, the U.S. Naval Plant in Lowell was told to drop a lot of positions. But on my particular position, they was just going to have a traffic manager, didn't need an assistant. All right. My boss was a civilian. He didn't have any military service, and he was a 6. I was a 6 with veterans preference. So I said, George Brickhouse, not a nice guy. I said, George, you and I got along fine, but I'm going to roll you, man. I'm going to roll you. I'm going to be the traffic manager, and you're going to be out. You know,
Mhm.
this didn't work. You know why, Mike?
What's that?
A veteran could come in and roll a guy that all through the war and stayed on one position doing this particular job.
Mhm.
So I couldn't roll him, even though we were the same rank, more or less. I could not roll him, so I was out. So I was offered a job at the Dayton, Ohio, at the Air Force Base there. Air Force Base.
Mhm.
And that was growing. I was offered the job as Assistant Transportation Officer at Dayton, at the U.S. Air Force Base there, which right today is building.
Sure.
They say at the Dayton Air Force, you've heard about these UFOs,
Mhm.
strange people landing and all
Sure.
this stuff. They tell me right today that something was recovered out in Las Cruces, Mexico or somewhere, and sent to this Air Force base in Dayton. It's in a hangar somewhere, in a compartment, locked up, secret. And nobody knows what it is. And
Gotcha.
as far as I heard, right today, that's still there.
Well, this is pretty much bringing us to about the end of our time here.
Okay,
I
Mike.
wanted to thank you once again for the time that you have given us and the absolutely fantastic historical account of your service and for this great country of ours. And once again, I just wanted to thank you for not only being here, but for your service as well.
I appreciate
I thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.